Hello, welcome to the Pride of Iron's YouTube channel. I'm joined today by Ian of United with Pride, which is Newcastle's LGBTQ plus supporters group. And with me is Rob from Pride of Irons. Hello chaps.
Hello.
We're going to have a little chat about this weekend's game. Keep it nice and friendly. I'm going to fire some questions over to you guys. Just give me your honest replies, and we'll see where we get to. So I'm going to start with a nice, easy one. We're just coming towards the start of the new season. Transfer window is going to be open for a little while yet. Some of us have done some business, some of us haven't. Ian, we'll go to you first. What's your hopes for the season, given the business you've done?
If you'd done this interview with us a few days ago, I'd have been all doom and gloom because we basically spent nothing up to that point. And, we'd had the odd free transfer in, but that was pretty much it. And then suddenly in 2 days, we signed 3 players and they're very exciting signings. So obviously we've got the combination of Ryan Fraser and Callum Wilson from Bournemouth, who were very good players and even in an exceptionally average team did manage to create assists and goals. And that's what we lacked last season, somebody who knows where the net is and people to consistently create chances, because I think Shelby was our top striker with 5 goals for the season, and Callum Wilson managed nearly double that in a relegated team. So it's really is so much more exciting now. We've got the young left back from Norwich as well, which was a position we needed to strengthen. So I am fairly happy because I was always happy with the defensive midfield and the central defenders and the keeper. It was always up front that we didn't seem to quite get it right. So the addition of it's very much Steve Bruce behind the transfers now. They're his signings. All the other signings weren't his. They were just signed at the end of the Rafa reign. These are definitely his because they're homegrown players and they have Premier League experience. Whereas the likes of Joelinton and St Maximin didn't have that experience, so they were always a risk. And St Maximin's been a hit, but Joelinton hasn't. So last season's transfers seemed exciting at the time, but they were a risk. This time around, it seemed very safe options and seemed to be at a very reasonable price as well. If you think we played double for Joelinton, what we are paying for Callum Wilson, that's a steal for a former international.
Yeah, so I'm probably jumping on what Rob's thinking, but we're looking at the business you're doing. Like you say, it's a very reasonable business, it's sensible business, and sometimes you just need that, the basic building blocks. So Rob, I'm guessing you're going to say, well, the kind of players that we should be going for.
Absolutely, all 3 of them players. I think the players we've been linked with before, in this window and in the past, and they're now. He's a really good young left back. He's still got lots of years left in front of him. And Wilson's been linked with us since he's been at Bournemouth. And also, he loves to score against us. So I like to have him so he don't score against us.
Well, I was going to try and save that for later, but I think
I didn't know that. I'm so pleased I do now.
7 in the last 8 games that they've played against, I think, is the stat that he's scored, I think. But it's like Lukaku when he was at Everton, just used to score against us for fun.
Yeah. So he's going to score 2 goals, so it's 9 and 9.
No.
Probably. So Rob, going to you on the next question. How do you expect us to set up against Newcastle?
I think we're going to go exactly in how we ended the last season, if I'm honest. We're going to go with kind of Antonio up front, Bowen on the left. I think we'll play Fornells on the kind of left-hand side. And if both players are fit and haven't got coronavirus, I think we're going to have Souček and Rice. And I think the same back forward, Diop, Bonga. I think we'll play Fredrickson, though, because of pace, of Newcastle pace. And he's one of our fastest players, and I think we'll need him. Otherwise, I think Newcastle will rinse us. If I'm honest.
So what about left back then? If you're thinking pace, you're thinking Masuaku?
I think it might be Masuaku, yeah. I've got that kind of feeling it might be him because I think we need that pace. I think Cresswell, since his injury, has lost a lot of pace, but then he hasn't got as good delivery as Masuaku. So it's a very
dangerous having Masuaku to actually defend. If you actually need him to, if you want him going forward, fine, but to defend, it's a risky one. But
I wouldn't be surprised if they put Arthur on the left-hand side and put Cresswell and helped them team up on that side, then kind of bought for an hours later on in the game. I wouldn't be surprised with that, but I don't think Moyes think he's that far ahead.
So, Ian, what's your expectations lining up against West Ham?
It's a tough one to tell because obviously the first game of the season, the pre-season is disrupted. Lots of
and all those new players.
Settle.
Right.
So, well, that might actually suit you because, like you say, to bed in 3 new signings into a team, straight in, and the 11 might actually, upset the balance of the team. At the end of last season, the squad we had played very well, and then completely dropped off and lost the last 3 or 4 matches in a row. So it is quite hard to know which Newcastle team is going to turn up. But obviously the players themselves will be buoyed by new signings. We do have bags of pace going forwards now. You've got Almiron, the choice of Almiron to Maximum, Wilson. I don't think Fraser's going to make it. Fraser's not quite fit enough to start. He might be on the bench.
Some good news.
Yeah, and you've got Shelby behind them pinging the balls around. So it's if we go for a counter-attacking approach, I think it's a good plan. My issue is with the formation because under Rafa we were very back 3 with wing backs and very solid, very organised, but not very exciting to watch. And at least under Bruce, he's managed to break the culture of our squad of being that type of team. And he did, he was brave. He went with a 4 at the back. It worked for a bit, and then suddenly we couldn't defend anymore. So it'd be interesting to whether he does go with the 3 centre backs or whether he goes with 2. And I hope he goes with 2 because we've just played so much better football and it's so much more exciting to watch. And that, to be fair, that's what we want. Even though we're away, the first game and it might be disruptive. But now, because we've got proper left back, it'll be easier to do. Because we had such an injury crisis in defence, I think you have no choice but to keep 3 at the back. And if he goes with the flat back 4 instead, I think it could be a good win. I think if we go 3 at the back, it draws the best we can hope for.
And so, Ian, who do you think would be the player to watch for Newcastle in this game, and who do you think would be dangerous for West Ham? For us, the danger man has always been St Maximin, and he was probably the best player in the bottom half of the Premier League towards the end of last season, particularly. He ran out of steam at the end of the last 2 or 3 games. I think too much was expected of him. So if you put players around him who can take a little bit of the pressure off him of what needing to deliver, like Callum Wilson, then he's going to be absolutely the danger man. If he's had a good rest and he's raring to go for this season, he is frightening. His pace is absolutely frightening, and the things he can do, and you just can't guess what he's going to do next. He makes your heart race when he gets the ball at his feet. It's been a long time since I've seen a player in black and white shirt be able to do what he did. And for West Ham?
Who?
Oh, is it me?
No. For Ian, who do you think is going to be dangerous for West Ham?
The thing is, I'm trying to remember the end of last season for you guys. You had a real dip in form, but then you came back at the end, didn't you?
Yeah, we had Antonio up front. He scored most of the goals for us.
Sorry, say that again?
We had Antonio up front who scored most of the goals for us.
So you've got to believe that it has to be Antonio to lead you into this season, that form continues, because it's been such a short pre-season. You've got to expect them to sort of hit the ground running, those type of players who are settled in a team and scoring consistently. So again, perhaps not Callum Wilson's day because he'll be in a new team, more likely the established players who were there before, like St Maximin and Antonio.
Rob, what are you thinking? Both teams, who's going to be the danger man?
Well, for Newcastle, it's either going to be Wilson or St Maximin, I think. I think depending what side St Maximin plays on, if he plays on the left-hand side and we play Cresswell, I think we're going to be in for a very long 90 minutes. But I think if they play him on the right on the side of Fredrickson, I think it'll be a bit of a tougher game for him because he's rapid, right? And I think he's quite aggressive, and I think he'll keep tight to him. But then we've got Wilson to contend with as well. And we did
listen. I think Wilson could probably come off the bench with 10 minutes to go and still score against us.
Exactly.
It just seems like a curse.
It is. We've got players that have always scored against us, or have had a goal drought for 17 years and come out of retirement and they score. And that could be one of the things. So I'm just hoping we take the form we had from last season into the new season at the end. But with everything's going on with West Ham at the moment, I don't think it'll happen. I just don't know. So you just can't predict West Ham sometimes, like any team, I suppose.
You absolutely can't. We were talking with Brandy on the previous video, and Brandy's expectations were that we'd probably lose or draw this weekend, and have a lot of losses and draws against teams that are in and around us, and then we'll probably get more points out of the big teams. And I suppose looking at the tail end of last season, you can kind of see that even when we were playing poorly, like during the middle of the season, we beat Chelsea. We took 6 points off Chelsea last season in a season where we were fighting relegation.
It is a dangerous thing though, because we've done the same thing many times where when the crowds have been there, and that can be an important thing as well. When the crowds have been there, the team have played up to the crowd, for the bigger fixtures, and they've played well and got beat. And then they go and play the more lowly teams and play badly and get beat. And that's what can get you relegated sometimes as well. It gets good teams relegated. So when we've gone down twice, you've gone down with good Premier League standard players. Why? Possibly that reason is that you don't beat the teams that you should be beating.
Yeah.
I do have to say, based on last season's result, it happened. Yeah, look, anything could happen really, because obviously we won 3-2 at your place and you 2-2 at ours. It's actually one of your best performances, I think, at our place. You pretty much deserved the win. So it should have been 2 away wins really for our respective teams in the fixtures last season. So, like I say, it wouldn't surprise me if it was a draw or away win, or at least a high-scoring game again, similar to what
I think it'd be an open game for sure. Especially I think both sides will play with pace, and I think we'll put our fast players on, and you'll put your fast players on, and so they'll go for it. They'll play deep and go on the counter, and I think it'll, like you said, it'll be a high scoring game. I think it'll be an exciting game. I hope it is anyway.
Well, at the least we want it to be an exciting game, even if we have to lose it.
Yeah.
Okay, so onto the managers of each team. So I'll start with you, Rob. David Moyes. Where are we at with David Moyes now?
Well, personally, I didn't want David Moyes, in West Ham to start off with, but once he's in there, you have to support your manager, and you have to get behind him, and he's got a kind of an idea of what he wants for the club, and you have to support that. But then that's for everyone. That's including the board as well, and they have to kind of give him the money to kind of get that kind of team he wants going. And I don't think he's going to be getting that fully. I think he'll, like you said, we've had to make a sacrifice and sell Grady. And he might be, world-class player. He might not be, but if he does become a world-class player, we haven't got him anymore. But
all we've got is a 20% sell-on clause. Great.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And we might get some defenders in, but we're looking at the Burnley player. We're looking at some playing I can't remember. But he's not Premier League proven either, so he might just be a flop as well. We just don't know at the moment. So. It all depends.
There's a real division, isn't there, in the clubs between the super rich, who are always going to be rich. So Man City are going to be rich no matter what's going on in the world.
Look at Chelsea.
Our owners have got big financial portfolios that have probably taken a massive whack off the back of COVID, and that's probably a lot to do. Not that I'm making excuses for them, but that's probably a lot to do with why we're not investing. I think during the early days of COVID, I think Sullivan had to raise 30 million or something to inject into the club to keep it afloat. And he probably would have had to have sold assets at a low price. So that's probably given him a double kick in the gut. So from his point of view, I'm not justifying it, but I think that's the reason why.
Well, it's all property, isn't it? His wealth as well, majority of it anyway.
Yeah, and the high street's been smashed, and
so that's why he's been affected badly, and he's been affected. West Ham have been affected.
Yeah, but David Moyes, I think at least one thing we know about him is he does give youth a try. Whether we've got the youth within our ranks to bring through and fill some of the gaps in our squad. I mean, I don't know. You know more about the youth setup than I do.
Yeah, well, I think we've actually got a fantastic youth setup. I think, and we've got a really good youth under 23 manager. But I think he hasn't got any option but to play youth, and so I think his hands been forced, and it might work out for him because he does little clever things, David Moyes, and we don't give enough credit for it, like putting Anatovic up front and putting Antonio up front,
and Antonio
like that, and they've paid off for him. Yeah, they've paid off for him. So sometimes we can't discredit him all the time because he's actually done things to keep us in the league. So why not back him now and kind of get his reputation up? And maybe he could be the manager for us. But I think time will tell. I think this season is going to be really unfair for him because I don't think he's going to have everything he wants. And if it kind of goes badly, I think the fans will turn too much, and an action of sacking a manager is the only action that the board would have.
Can they afford
to?
to?
The fans, which is a shame.
So, all right, well,
it's astonishing with Moyes. Just from an outsider's perspective, Moyes, his career has been fascinating because he was so successful at Preston North End and then consistently successful at Everton. And I just wonder if he really was a one club person, almost, because he has such consistent success at Everton, and you think he's the solid choice, for any managerial role. And then he goes to Man United and he fails, and he goes abroad and he fails, and he goes to Sunderland and he fails.
Yeah.
How spectacular those failures have been, that makes you think, well, what's happened to this guy? This really solid, consistent, very well organised teams, but also can be exciting to watch as well. And that brand he had, it just disappeared with some complete failures. And then he's come to West Ham and done a good job to save them. And I hope they do back him because I think he deserves it. But it is a case of which David Moyes are you going to get this season? Are you going to get that one who, when he was younger, where clearly he had something that very special as a manager, or are you going to get the one that's been at the last 3 or 4 years?
Also, you get the kind of perfect fit element as well, don't you? So, like with Preston North End, and you get like Everton, it might have just been a perfect fit, and the players might have been there at the right time, and it might have been the right kind of thing for him. And the game's moved on, and has he moved on with the game? You just don't know sometimes with managers because you don't actually get to know them personally. So it's all just.
But then you hear that the players love him, and that you saw Declan Rice running over to him after scoring, and you have seen in the short term that after lockdown, because I think the last time he came to us, it was a panic choice, right, mid-season. Same this time round. He never really got a pre-season with the squad. So through this kind of lockdown period, he kind of got a little mini, almost mid-season pre-season. So it's kind of the restart might have been good for him, and maybe who knows what's going to happen. I mean, Ian, what's it like up in the northeast? What's the thoughts around Steve Bruce?
So personally, I have to give Steve Bruce a massive amount of credit for the job he did, because he came into an almost impossible situation where the fans wanted him sacked before he even arrived. And he was following the Messiah, the person who could do no wrong in Rafa Benitez. And, many people had him sacked and relegated, us relegated and him sacked before the season started. I think the bookies had us relegated, second favourite to relegated that season. And obviously we were safe with many games to spare. We were well clear of relegation all the way through. He managed to put initially just kept things as they had been under Rafa tactically and the players he was selecting. But over time he's managed to change it so that we are a bit more attack-minded. The signings coming in, his signings, so you're starting to stamp his own authority on it now. So you can definitely credit him for this season rather than, he's just taken Rafa's team and kept it as it was. And the thing is, I know from the staff that I talk to that he is very much liked. And when you look at the way he acts around the players with the arm around the shoulder and all the rest of it, it's a very Bobby Robson type of approach. You can tell he's a very warm character, and he's very man-management orientated, and that's what we get back from the staff, is that he makes sure he knows everybody's name. They say Rafa was very, very good at what he did, but he was quite cold and aloof at the time. And everybody was worked really hard, knew their jobs, and he was very clear with that. But in terms of man management, perhaps he wasn't as strong as Bruce is. And you can see some players. Shelby's a great example of that, where Shelby's played much better this season than he did under Rafa last season. The season gone. Because he's had that arm around the shoulder. He's that type of player. So players like that have done well. Obviously, some players haven't done so well. We had Fabian Schär was the best player of the season last season. He's doing he's lost his way because I think he's lost that I think he preferred that organised approach from Rafa. I think it kept him in check, and he's made loads of mistakes this season and he didn't lose yet. So obviously two managers with two very different approaches. But I like Bruce's approach because he's a Geordie in charge of Newcastle, so he's always going to know and understand what type of football the fans want and expect, and we want to be entertained, and he is more more alike to the Keegan and Robson than Rafa would ever be, despite the fact Rafa was clearly over his career being the better manager. But this, as you say, the manager who could just fit the club, like Moyes was at Everton. You know, he might be our fit.
Yeah.
Okay, so on to weekend's game. First of all, oh no, actually not the weekend's game. Sorry, for one more thing before then. Expectations for the season. Where would you place both teams, Ian? So where you realistically see both
Be
teams
kind,
finishing?
Ian.
Be honest, Ian.
Well, no, I think just based on we've kept everyone from last season, we haven't sold anybody. There's a chance Richie goes to Bournemouth, but you know we haven't really lost any of our best players from last season, and we've added good signings in there. So I see a small improvement. We finished 13th, I think, between 10 and 12. I believe. I think we'll be one of the better sort of lower half teams. So I'm not getting overly excited and wild about it. If you'd asked me a week ago, I'd have probably said near the relegation zone. But I do think we'll be safe and comfortable again. I would just love us to be able to get back to focused on the pitch and see fans back in the stadium and being able to go and support the team directly again and focus on the football element rather than the things that go on around the club all the time with the media.
Yeah. That'd be nice for us as well. And where do you see West Ham finishing, Ian?
Ooh, I must admit, when I did my Premier League predictor, I think I had you 17th. I think you scraped from not being relegated.
Oh, that was kind.
I just think you struggled quite a bit last season. I think you've got a similar season coming up because you haven't made many signings, and it looks like similar again. I think Moyes will keep you safe, but I don't see him taking you way up the table.
Okay, Rob, both teams.
I think, well, let me start with Newcastle first of all. I think Newcastle will probably get about 10th, maybe 10th and above, just because I think, you know, they had kind of like a good core of play, kind of like a good shell of players, but I reckon the players they've signed now have made it kind of a full kind of team, and they've got a nice balance now with the wing and the striker. They've got, you know, pace to burn. I think they'd be a very hard team to beat. They can be good defensively. I think they'll just be. I think they'll keep going, and the winner's not shut, so they might still bring people in. And so I reckon maybe 10th, 9th for Newcastle in my eyes. I said that in my prediction league as well with my dad. So I honestly think that. And when it comes to West Ham, like I said to you earlier, Jim, I think we'll be 15th and above. I don't think we'll struggle with relegation, but I don't think we'll be like putting up trees. And I think we'll just kind of get a lot of draws. We'll lose some games, and we'll beat the big teams, and we'll be excited for a couple of weeks, and it'll go back to
screenshotting the position in the league.
But again, you know, yeah. So I reckon we'll be 13th, 14th.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then so finally to the game this weekend, scorelines. So Rob, you go first. Would you reckon scorelines and goal scorers, if you like?
I am going to go 2 on West Ham. I really hope we kind of take the kind of form we had in. I think we desperately need to win it because the games after that are so brutal for us. It's unreal. And I think if we don't, I think that everyone would be on everyone's back. So, and I think it will be Antonio and Bone to score. And I think it could be a thing. I hope. Sorry, Ian.
Well, it's their comment. The thing is with Newcastle, you can't predict what we're going to do. Like I say, most people predicted us to be relegated last season.
Yeah.
You know, and most Newcastle fans predicted us to be relegated last season. You know, they've had this manager that was going to take it down. But actually, it wasn't the case. So it is hard to predict, and we're all optimistic right now, and we could finish bottom. It's been that type of a roller coaster with us for quite a long time. You know, when we get it right, we get a spectacular event. When we get it wrong, it's relegation. So, and looking on the away games towards the end of last season, and again, I go back to the Rafa comparison. So Rafa would never have set up a team to win 4-1 at Bournemouth. But there again, next away game was Man City, who got tonked 5-0. We wouldn't have got tonked 5-0 if we'd had Rafa into this. So I think it very much depends on how we start, because I think we could go and score a few goals, but we'll let some in as well. So I am going 3-2 Newcastle. I believe I think it'll be a high-scoring game, but I think we get a late winner with Callum Wilson off the bench. We always have a defender score because our defenders just like scoring between them because our strikers can't. So I still think that we usually knock one in from corner. So I fancy Fernandes to get one, St Maximin to get one, and Wilson to get one.
That's my nightmare.
So that's all to be said. I'm not making predictions because I'm too suspicious. But that's all we've got time for. But thank you very much, Ian from United with Pride, for joining us today, and Rob from Pride Vines. Good luck for the season, but obviously just not for this weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you.